Hi guys, my name's Adam and welcome to my new video. Today we're gonna talk about what to expect from Apple in the upcoming year. Apple is one of the biggest companies in the world, but at the same time it's one of the most secretive companies. So nothing is certain with Apple up until the very last minute. But even though Apple tries to avoid any leaks, it's not in their power to stop these leaks from happening. So we usually have a pretty good idea about what they are going to announce. So what new products can we expect in 2020? There's a lot of stuff and some of it is pretty huge. So let's jump right into it. Here we go. iPhone is still Apple's biggest selling product and that's not going to change anytime soon. So it's clear that it is in the center of Apple's focus. And according to the latest rumors, we can expect Apple to announce the largest amount of new iPhones in history. Right around the corner is the long-rumored March event, in which Apple is supposed to announce the new iPhone 9, aka iPhone SE 2, which should basically be an upgraded iPhone 8. It's probably gonna have the same exact design as the 8 had, but with upgraded internals. I expect Apple to use the A13 chip with 3GB of RAM and a single camera module from the iPhone 11's main camera. The price of this model also leaked, and it should be as low as $399. If there is one thing that you can count on in your life, it's the fact that every September new iPhones are released, and this year will be no exception. Apple is supposed to announce 4 iPhones this September, up from 3 models last year, but for the first time since 2017, iPhones are about to get a redesign. iPhone 12 series should ditch the rounded design which Apple is using since the iPhone 6, and new iPhones are supposed to have a new square-edged stainless steel frame, very similar to the old iPhone 4. So basically we can expect designs similar to the 2018 iPad Pro. iPhones are supposed to get 5.4, 6.1 and 6.7 inch screens, but according to the rumors, Apple is set to announce 2 models with 6.1 inch screen. So it looks like 5.4 inch models and one of the 6.1 inch models should be the lower end phones with dual camera modules, and the second 6.1 inch and 6.7 inch iPhones should replace current iPhone 11 Pro and Pro Max. Good news is that all the iPhone 12 models should have the OLED screens, unlike the iPhone 11's LCD display, and the Pro models could possibly use the ProMotion functionality, so the display could have 120Hz refresh rate. iPhone 12 Pro should also have 6GB of RAM, while the standard iPhone 12 should stay at 4GB. Of course, we can expect the new A14 processor, better cameras, possibly bigger batteries, and for the first time, iPhones are supposed to be 5G enabled. It's gonna be a really exciting year for the iPhones. A lot of users are excited about their iPads, and Apple has a few things up their sleeve when it comes to their tablet lineup. At the upcoming March event, we should finally see a new iPad Pros. These should have a very similar design to the last generation, but a new 12-inch option is rumored. New iPads are also expected to sport a triple lens camera, better screen, improved Face ID and more. New iPad Pros are gonna be powered by a new CPU, either A13X or even A14X. We don't know for sure, but it's gonna be a performance powerhouse. It is also rumored that the 64GB storage option will be replaced by 128GB, which would be a welcome change across all new iOS devices. And last but not least, the price should stay the same as 2018 iPad Pro, which is always a good thing. And the latest rumor is suggesting that Apple is in fact preparing a new smart keyboard with built-in trackpad, so we might see a more in-depth mouse integration to the iPad OS, which is very exciting. We can also expect a refreshed basic 10.2-inch iPad, as Apple has been refreshing these on a yearly basis for the last 3 years. But expect this one to include just a minor spec bump. At this point, it is not certain that we will see an updated iPad mini and Air this year, because Apple might decide to update these on a 2-year basis instead of a 1 year. Watch has been the fastest growing device in Apple's lineup in recent years, and every year Apple introduces a new series of their watches. This year we should see Apple Watch Series 6, but there are not a lot of rumors when it comes to the new Apple Watch. One of the main ones is that the new watches will use digital crown instead of a mechanical one, which will let Apple to improve water and dust resistance of the Series 6. The new Apple Watch should also include the new Apple-designed micro-LED display, which Apple is going to implement across all of their devices in the upcoming years. We can also expect updated CPU for better performance and power efficiency, which would be very helpful because Apple is planning to introduce the new sleep tracking feature, which would definitely benefit from having a better battery life. Design of the Series 6 will probably be very similar to the Series 4 and 5, but we might see them be a little thinner thanks to the micro-LED display, but we probably won't see any major Apple Watch redesign in the foreseeable future. Apple Watch Series 6 is also expected to remain at the same price as the Series 5 and be released around September as usual. Apple put a lot of focus to the Macs last year with the release of a completely new Mac Pro and a 16-inch MacBook Pro, which returned to the scissor key mechanism in its keyboard. But this year could be at least as exciting as 2019 was. Apple is rumored to release 13-inch MacBook Pro with a slimmer bezels and a scissor keys keyboard. I'm also expecting a spec bump for the MacBook Air with updated CPU. But the one thing everyone is talking about lately is ARM-based MacBook. Apple is expected to begin another big transition from Intel processors to their custom-made CPUs. Over the past few years we have seen a trend where A-series CPUs in the iPhones and iPad consistently outperform some of the lower to middle-range MacBooks, including the MacBook Pro. So it makes sense that Apple wants to use these CPUs in actual laptops. They would become more independent and it would eliminate the delays where Apple had to wait for Intel to finish making their CPUs before they could announce their latest MacBooks. And of course, ARM CPUs from Apple would be a lot more efficient, so we could possibly see a huge increase in a MacBook battery life. It's gonna be a really exciting time for Mac users for sure. Of course, we can't forget iMacs, which are finally about to get a long overdue update. It is expected to have a slimmer bezels, which would allow the screen size increase from 21.5 and 27 inches to possibly 27 and 30 inches with a 6K resolution. And most importantly, iMacs should finally get rid of the Fusion drive and use only SSD drives. Apple, it's 2020 for God's sake. The latest generation Apple TV 4K was released all the way back in 2017, so it surely deserves an upgrade by now. And it's heavily rumored that Apple will announce the new Apple TV at their March event. This one will probably be just a spec bump, but there's not much else you can do with this device. And if Apple really wants to push Apple TV as a gaming device with their Apple Arcade service, then Apple TV needs to have a great hardware to run these games. Last generation had a powerful 810X CPU and 4GB of RAM, which was basically the same hardware as 10.5-inch iPad Pro had. So I expect the new Apple TV to have the same A12X CPU as 2018 iPad Pro. But Apple might really push the limits and give Apple TV the hardware of the upcoming iPad Pros. And if the rumor is true and the prices stay the same, then this would be a really powerful machine for a fantastic price. We don't know a lot about accessories which Apple will announce this year, but there's a rumor floating around that Apple is preparing to release yet another AirPods, this time a successor to the 2019 second-generation AirPods. But the rumor about naming of this device is quite confusing. Some leakers call it simply AirPods 3rd generation, but some are calling it AirPods Pro Lite, which makes absolutely no sense to me, and I hope this messy name is not correct. Of course, we can expect a lot more accessories this year, including new cases for iPhones, new watch bands, which Apple is usually releasing in the spring and fall, and maybe we'll finally see an updated Magic Mouse and Magic Keyboard for Mac, which is rumored to have a Touch ID integrated. But there's almost no rumors about accessories, so we don't know anything for sure. We might even see a new generation HomePod or a cheaper HomePod Lite. But does anybody remember HomePod anyway? There is also one new product category which Apple is set to introduce this year, and that's AirTags. We don't know if it's the final name or not, but it sounds like something Apple would do. AirTags are a head-to-head competition to a popular gadget called Tiles, which is basically a little tracking device which you can attach to any of your belongings, and when you lose it, you will be quickly able to find it with your Find My app on your Apple device. That's a little unusual gadget for Apple to make, but it was confirmed by a hidden code in iOS 13 that Apple is making this thing happen, and I'm sure it will help a lot of forgetful people like myself to find their lost things. So I'm looking forward to it. In the beginning of June, Apple will hold their Worldwide Developer Conference, also known as WWDC, and we will see new versions of every one of their operating systems: iOS 14, iPadOS 14, watchOS 7, macOS 10.15 and tvOS 14. We don't know a lot about the new features in these systems, but in one of my previous videos I talked about supported devices for iOS 14 and iPadOS 14. You can see it by clicking the link in the description. As usual, we will see the first betas of all these OSs right after the first keynote at WWDC, and final versions will be released around September with new iPhones. Once we have a little more rumors about new features in these systems, I'll make a separate video about it for sure. So that's it, guys. Which new product are you looking forward to the most? Write me in the comment section. For me, it's definitely gonna be new iPhones, but I'm also really excited about future of the Mac. Do you think the 2020 is gonna be a good year for us, Apple fans? I think it definitely might be. And if you like my video, give me a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. It helps me a lot. Thank you so much and see you next time. Bye!